Welcome to the Monetize Your Podcast workshop today. My name is Julie Baranek. I'm the founder of Podcast Builder, and I'm so excited to connect with you and walk you through this today. This is really going to transform what you're doing with your podcast today, or maybe you're just starting one, and that's awesome too. And the potential that you can realize and recognize with your podcast to be able to call in your dream people and have consistent revenue month after month directly from your podcast. So I'm going to share today with you how your podcast can be your biggest source of revenue. And it's something that most podcasters really miss in their business. So I started my podcast back in January of 2023. And my goal with it, or my intention, was to create some training videos. I thought I can create more content. It's an easy way to just record something and turn that into training videos. And that was the vision that I had with it. But a friend of mine invited me to be a guest on her show as the Queen of Automation. And my background was IT consulting for Fortune 500s around the world in doing automation, building systems, streamlining, marketing, all that good stuff. So I now use that power for good to help you. But she invited me to be on her show, and I just fell in love with the interview format. Like, it was just natural and fun and relaxed, and it just something clicked with me that I hadn't realized that it was there before. So I thought, well, I could probably do that for mine, but I had no idea how to do it, what I was doing. But I thought, let me just hop in a podcasting group for Facebook and see, if anybody's interested, right? See what this thing is all about. So I put a post up in one of the groups and I went to bed. Like, I was literally expecting nothing. And I was surprised the next day when I woke up and had like 86 comments of people raising their hand and wanting to be on my show. And I realized that I had just stepped into something huge. And so that was kind of the beginning of a whole new era for me in this whole podcasting world. But I quickly was like connecting with people and started doing as many as 3 interviews per day, which is a little insane, but it was a lot of fun and just really was connecting with people. So in all transparency, I really struggled to keep all the balls in the air, and I felt like I was forgetting things. And in all honesty, I was. Like, I would miss getting back to people. I had people that were interested, they were falling through the cracks. Like, I just was not able to keep up with that volume. And I knew I needed an automated system. Like, that's where my brain goes, is to make everything streamlined and automated and super easy to use. So I knew that's what I needed. I looked everywhere. I couldn't find what I needed. And I thought, well, all right, so I'll build it. And so I used my 18 years experience helping Fortune 500s, and I constructed this out of my own need, right? My own podcast, what I was doing every day and what I was learning every day that I needed to be doing. And just, it grew organically based off of my personal needs for my podcast. So I'm going to talk through with you the strategy, right? This evolved from just an initial system and a need to a full monetization strategy when I figured out and everything started to click that there's a method to the madness, and this is extremely powerful. But first, what is the purpose of your podcast? Like, I want to take a little step back and think, what is that purpose? Like, what are you actually trying to accomplish with your podcast? And there's many potential purposes out there, many reasons for having a podcast. And it could be anything from, showing behind the scenes to promoting a service. Like, there's so many things. And I'm curious what resonates with you. Drop it in the comments below if any of these are what you're thinking, your purpose is, and what is your reason for having a podcast. And along with the reason for having a podcast, there are the benefits that come with it as well, right? Which are related but different, where you're building stronger relationships, you're increasing your SEO, you're reaching new audiences, establishing yourself as an authority, and also, of course, monetizing your podcast, monetizing your content, which a lot of people envision and want and dream of, but really don't understand how. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm a big Stephen Covey fan. I love to begin with the end in mind, right? So looking at your goal, we're going to work backwards to get you there, okay? So how will you monetize your podcast, right? What is that vision for you? Obviously, we're here, we're talking like we want to level it up and make it more impactful for you. So how will you monetize your podcast? And the secret that most people miss, now most people think that they need to do ads or sponsorships or have this massive following, which is awesome if you have it, but that takes time, okay? The secret to monetizing your podcast right now is to invite your dream guests and your dream clients to be guests on your show. Okay. And this is extremely, extremely powerful because people want to be on podcasts. Like they want to talk about themselves. They, like I showed you earlier, raise their hand like crazy to want to be on podcasts, to get the content, to get the visibility, the audience, all that, right? Well, when you're inviting them to be on your show, effectively what you're doing is your dream clients build a relationship with you and they now know and love you. In less than an hour time, you can go from complete stranger to know, like, love, trust, all the above, right? And they now love you, which is amazing. And just in simple math, the more of your dream clients that know and love you, the more sales you're going to get in your business. Like this is kind of a no-brainer when you start to connect the dots here, right? And this is, again, something that most people miss. Like they do their podcast, they put content out there and think, oh, people will eventually find me, okay? But they miss that they can monetize their content and their podcast today. So the key piece for this, for everything that we're talking about, is having the right audience, okay? Because you can put a call out there and just say, I have a podcast, I want to talk to people in business, and we're going to talk about how business grows, right? And you can have 1,000 people raise their hand, but it could be 1,000 of the wrong people. And again, this is where there's a gap of, it's easy to get people on your show. It's a little more tricky and just requires some more thought to get the right people on your show. So let's talk about who is the right audience for you. Okay, and this is a lot of the work that I do with my one-on-one coaching clients is we go through this together and I help you really dial it in. But I'm going to use the format that I use with those clients and we're going to do this together here. Okay. And I have a document that's going to help you. I'm dropping it into the comments. You can grab it, right? But we're going to go through it together here. So when you first think of who is your dream client, I want you to think about that one person that is the most favorite client that you have or that you'd love to work with, that they're easy to please, they're easy to serve, they're easy to give a transformation, they're easy to make a big impact in their business because you're well equipped and their needs align directly with what it is that you're doing, okay? And write that name down. This is the person that is your dream client, okay? This is who you're after. This is the person that you want thousands more of. You don't want just anybody, right? You want the right people for you. And this is who your podcast is for. Okay, this is who you're going to create content for. This is who you're going to speak to. This is who you're going to call out. And this is who you're going to invite to your podcast to be a guest. So think of, for that person that is your dream client, who do they listen to? Who are their influencers? Who do they pay attention to? What are groups that they're in? What are different touch points that they have? If you're able to connect and partner up with those people that are surrounding your dream client, in addition to your dream client, like this is just going to blow your business out of the water. Okay. And your podcast is the vehicle to do that. That's how this all starts to come together. Okay. And what we're doing here is the absolute foundation. Everything builds on top of this. And if you want my help, I'm happy to help you. We can work through this one-on-one, but this is critical that you get this dialed in right because everything else just clicks from there. Okay. So think about that person, go through these questions after our call today. You're going to need some time to think this through, but the more you can really map out who this person is, the more you can speak to them. Okay. And like for me with my content, everything I do, I write to that person. In fact, I even write, Dear Leanne, and I'm writing to Leanne and I'm thinking of her for every single thing that I'm putting out there. Every episode, every post, every email, I'm writing to Leanne because I want thousands more of her to come to me. So now that we know who your dream client is, who you're trying to serve with your podcast, what is the focus area of your podcast? And I would encourage you, if you have a podcast existing already, you may want to refine it, right? Like this is where things start to get dialed in and really come together when you are able to align what it is you do with your podcast with your dream clients, okay? Because ultimately, like we said, we're going to be calling in your dream clients to be guests on your show and to listen to your show and be part of your show. So you want a topic area that they care about. So that's ultimately what we're asking here is, what do your dream clients care about that you can talk about on your podcast? Now, the really cool thing is when we have these things aligned, lead generation is a breeze. Like this is so easy. And this is where things really start to click. And I'm going to go through the secret recipe with you, my secret sauce of what to post, where to post, when to post, and all of these things attract a steady stream of your dream leads and your dream clients. Okay. And this is the impact of what happens when these things are aligned, right? When you put out that simple one post into Facebook, into the particular groups with the particular wording that's really dialed in and calling your people raise their hand like crazy. Like I said, my one client, Nicolette, she put out one post and had 80 people raise their hand immediately, right? It was awesome. And she was blown away by just the impact and experience that she had with her podcast builder. And she immediately saw people filling out her forms, coming into her database, filling her world with her dream people, right? This is where it's so incredibly powerful. And I'll show you the whole end-to-end system, automated end-to-end, which is beautiful. Allie was another one. She put out one post for her Solopreneur to CEO podcast, and 115 people raised their hands saying they wanted to be on her show. So it's really, really awesome when these things really come together and you're calling out the right people and the right people see themselves in your post. And we're going to talk about that too. But they will see themselves in the words that you're writing when you're really, really specific. So we're going to start with what to post, okay? How do we call those dream people out? Now that we know who they are, how do we call them out? And this was when I started working with one of my other clients. She had an existing podcast, right? And this was her exact post that she put out there of how she was calling out her people, okay? Which is a really great start, but we were able to refine it even further. So we're going to read it together and see what you can see where things maybe were a little bit vague. But hers is the show is a platform where we engage with thought leaders, innovators, entrepreneurs, discussing a wide range of topics that are shaping the business world today. We dive into online marketing, passive income generation, time-saving tools, mindset, work-life balance, and so much more, turning complexities into actionable advice. If you're running your own business and want to share, we'd love to connect with you, DM or email, right? Which is a great post. However, she's calling out leaders, innovators, and entrepreneurs to discuss a wide range of topics that are shaping business, right? That could be like almost anything. We dive into online marketing, passive income generation, time-saving tools, mindset, work-life balance, and so much more, turning complexities into actionable advice, right? So if you're running your own business, want to share, we'd love to connect with you. This is pretty much every business owner under the sun, okay? And so she had a ton of people raising her hand, which was great, but they weren't the right people. And so there was a huge disconnect with her of like, I've got all these people, but it's like, it's a lot of busy work, right? Like it's not landing the way it should with her podcast, okay? So we reworked it a little bit and I helped her really refine it into who she ultimately wanted to speak to in her business. And this is where the magic began to happen, okay? So her second version, after we reworked it, was I'm seeking visionary women in business who are innovative, love streamlining business to work smarter, not harder, and are passionate about sharing their expertise to scale to 7 figures and beyond. So just pause right there. She's looking for women, visionary women who are innovative and love streamlining their business. So we've now narrowed it down, right, of who she's actually looking for, that are passionate about sharing their expertise as they scale to 7 figures and beyond. So they're established in their business, at least multi-six figures, right? Somewhere in there, and have the confidence to really share their expertise. If you'd like to speak out about your business, what you do, who you serve, and the transformation you provide, as well as the story of what brought you to where you are, I'd love to have you on the guest of the show, right? On the show. So this called in a very narrow grouping of women to be on the show, which was ultimately who this client was trying to call out and build relationships with, exactly who's described in this post. And you'll see there's a big difference, even though they're generally calling the same people. So now that we know what to post, right? We know who we're talking to, we know who we're calling in, and we know why we're doing it. Let's talk about where to post, okay? And I have a cheat sheet for you that I'm going to give to you. And I'm dropping the link into the chat. But this is my personal list, my favorite list that I work with my clients of where to post in Facebook groups. Now, there's other places too. We can talk about LinkedIn another day and other places you can get your leads. But right now we're going to talk about Facebook, okay? So the top two that are highlighted in yellow are my absolute favorites. And if you click on the links, or I have the links there also, go to those groups. If you haven't joined already, join them today. They're free, they're awesome, all right? The other ones are great to post in as well, but absolutely post in the top two. The others are bonus, okay? You can see in the promo rules, I have the best groups for podcast guest opportunities. That's what that stands for. And then engagement. So if you're looking to just engage with podcast hosts, you can also use the bottom half of those groupings for that as well. All right. So again, definitely the top two, anything else is bonus. So now you've got people that are raising their hand, you've got people on your podcast, you've got conversations happening. You may be wondering, how do we monetize it, right? So how do we go from podcast conversation to sales conversation and ultimately closing the sale, right? Without being pushy, without a bait and switch, right? I want to be very clear here. This is not about offering one thing and switching it out for another, right? There are people out there that do that. That's not what this is. That's not what I teach at all. So my premise for all of this is genuine, authentic relationship building. And ultimately, we're in business, right? So there are ways to do that that then will lead to sales. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the basis of all of this is the podcast monetization framework. And this is amazing. All right. So what you want to do, and this is where it all starts to come together. You first are going to invite your dream clients to be on your show, right? We talked about how to do that, the words to use, who you're calling in, who your dream clients are, right? Next, you're going to build a genuine, authentic relationship with them. And you do that in the course of your podcast interview. That's where you get personal interaction with them, build that relationship with them, right? This is massive. And everything you do should be genuine, 100% genuine, right? But you're building a relationship with them. You go through the course of the interview, and for my framework, for my podcast, my format is I focus on the guest, right? I'm interviewing the guest. I'm like engaging with them. It's completely spontaneous. It's completely authentic. It's not scripted other than like the quick beginning and the quick end. Otherwise, it's completely organic, all right? That's just my show. Yours is probably a little different. But no matter what you do, you're building a genuine relationship with them. At the end of your podcast, what you do is talk about next steps, like we're going to polish this up. I'll send you the link. It goes out on all the podcast channels, goes out on YouTube, blah, 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 right? Whatever your spiel is. And then you ask them a very specific question, okay? This is critical. You ask them, so how can we best support each other? How can I help you get the word out? And this is asked out of a true, genuine ask. This is not any motives behind it other than how can I help you get the word out, right? How can I help you grow? And they'll say, well, nobody's ever asked me that. Well, we could do this. We could collab on this. We could do an Instagram live. I have this coming up. You could do this. Like all these ideas come out of that one question in that one moment. And it's important you write them down because you want to follow through with all of those ideas, right? It's very easy to just have that conversation and not follow through. So this right here is your golden opportunity, right? This is where you collab together, you come up with ideas, you now have a relationship with the person that is strategic, that you brought into your world, and they're opening themselves up to you to work together, okay? And more times than not, they're going to say to you, well, what is it that you do? I don't even know what it is that you do. Because at this time, you've poured everything into them, right? You spent the last hour engaging with them, just pouring of yourself through this podcast. And you've not spent a lot of time, generally speaking, again, depending on your format, asking about yourself, right? So at this point, they really don't know a lot about you. And this is where you can say to them, well, you know what? Do you mind if I share my screen? It's easier to show you than to tell you. And they go, well, of course. And this is like a very genuine, easy, authentic, low stress way. They've asked about what you do. Now tell them what you do. Okay. So this is where you will share your screen. And I actually have a conversation deck that you can use in the podcast builder, and I'll help you create that there as well. But that you can walk through very easily, very naturally, what it is that you do, who it is that you help. And then you ask, do they know anybody that needs your help? And very often they'll say, well, yeah, me. Like from the first interview that I did, that person became a high ticket client for me. Okay. Like this stuff works. And I've hired a lot of the people that I have on my podcast because it goes both ways. Like you're building that relationship with people. You now have a trust and a connection and a respect for each other. So it's very easy to hire each other, or that you know somebody and you build a referral network that way. This is golden if you can wrap your head around it and do it in a way that is genuine and authentic. So you now share what it is that you do with your business, right? Don't share with the expectation of a sale, okay? This is an alert. Like, do not go in and share this trying to close a sale. That is the wrong intention and the wrong energy. They will sense your energy and people immediately put up their guard, okay? You're just sharing out of, they asked, you tell them, whatever happens from there happens, okay? The goal is to plant seeds strategically with all the right people that are in the network of your dream client or are your dream client. They will come back again. Even if they don't purchase that day, very often a day, a week, a month, 3 months later, they come back and they say, you know what, about that thing, I know somebody or I need your services, right? So go into it with a long-term plan in mind, and it'll happen much sooner than you expect. So you've now shared what you do, you post the podcast episode, and then what I do is I share the assets with them too. So I share the videos with them. I'm not like clingy over my files, but I ask them to, feel free to use it to cut them up to reels, to anything that they need. I just ask them to tag me when they do. And all of this is actually baked into the podcast builder to make it really easy for you. But you can ask them to tag you when they do, because that turns your now friend, right, that you've collaborated with, had you on the podcast, into your marketing team. And you're now beginning to be able to borrow other people's audiences, which is massively powerful, right? So when they're tagging you in their own content, right, it's one thing to have you tag them in your content, which is great. But when they're tagging you, it's now being spread across their entire network and giving you credibility, authority, validity, right? All of these things because they're now vouching for you in front of their social media network. So this is where you then broaden your reach and are able to borrow other people's audiences through your own podcast. So this is like one slide that is so incredibly powerful. If you could really put this into play, like this one thing, you put this into play, I'm telling you, will change your entire business. And with the podcast builder, I go deeper with you on like the actual like day-to-day, how to play this out, how to optimize it, how to make it even more powerful. And we can work together and really ramp this up. All right. But I wanted to share this with you so you could take this and run with it and see the impacts of your business starting today, starting in your next episode. You can start this, right? This is really, really powerful. And like I said, I have a non-pitch pitch deck, I like to call it, because I'm not trying to sell people on it. But my clients take it and they convert it into their own branding, they convert it into their own content, and it's so powerful, right? So this is one that Kara took and she just skinned it for her own business. This is one Sydney took, skinned it for her business. This is mine, of course, that I skinned it for my business. And it's customizable for you in a super easy way. I have a Canva template, like it couldn't be more simple. And as I talked to you at the beginning of the volume that I was doing with my podcast, like I've been doing anywhere to 3 episodes per day, 3 interview episodes per day with my podcast. So I've had to make this super, super easy and super streamlined to be able to manage that volume, right? And to be able to do it well, because my goal is to serve people and to serve people well. I don't half-ass things very well, which you may be picking up on. So the way I did that is, of course, with the 7-figure podcast builder, which is the automated way that you can do all of the things we've been talking about, Okay, this is really, really powerful system. And I'm going to show you just an overview of how it works. So you can see if it would be able to help your business, help you grow, right? Make an impact with your business, that whatever volume you want to do. You don't have to do the volume I do, but whatever it is you want to do with your business, this can serve you with it, okay? So before I had the podcast builder, I was of course doing everything manual. I would post, I would connect with people, I would schedule, I would remind them, like all of this was completely manual. And I found that it was taking me up to 21 hours per 30-minute episode. All right. And that's insane. To me, that's like so much time for each individual episode. It just was taking forever. And I thought there's got to be a better way. So I built this automated system where everything here, other than that initial post that we've already written for you, other than that, pretty much everything's automated. Like, it's insane how easy this is and becomes when you have the right system to support you. And I'm curious, how many hours do you spend creating each podcast episode? Drop it in the chat below. Like, what gut feel, what do you feel like you're spending? And I was doing research about this, and most podcast hosts are actually spending anywhere from 8 to 50 hours per 30-minute episode. Now, of course, the 50 hours, they've got teams that are doing it for them, but 50 hours per 30-minute episode. I was able to take my 21 hours that I was doing per episode and take it down to less than 1. Including the editing and the publishing and sending the episode out to the person. Like, other than the actual conversation, less than an hour. That is insane, the amount of time that you would save within your team. So no matter what the number is, you can bring it down. But I'm curious, like, drop in the chat what you think your gut feel is of how many hours are you or your team, your VAs, anybody spending on your podcast production. Okay, chances are it's higher than you think. And if you're doing, just thinking this through, like 3 episodes a week, right? And say it's 20 hours per episode, like what I had mapped out, right? If you're spending $9 per hour for your VA, that's over $2,000 per month that you would be saving with the podcast builder. That's how much time and money that you would save within your team, not to mention that your team can then take that time and reinvest it into moving the needle forward, being able to cut out all the fat inside your team that they can move much more productively. And this can be the most seamless part of your business. Like, for me, my podcast episodes are the easiest part of my entire business, end to end. It is just, I don't even have to think about it. So I hop on a call, I connect with the person. It immediately goes to my VA. She does the publishing, the editing, all of it, puts it up there. So, like, it's just so easy. Okay. So this is just at 3 episodes a week. Now, if you're doing 3 a day, like I do, which can be up to 3 episodes a day, 5 days a week at 20 VA hours per episode at $20 an hour, which is what I pay my VA, this would be a savings of over $24,000 per month ongoing that you would be saving with the podcast builder. Okay, this is like mind-blowing savings, mind-blowing stuff here. So granted, you're probably not at that level. Totally cool that you're not. I'm just saying, like, this is the reality. And this is why I had to build the system the way I did, because I was spending an insane amount to do the volume that I was. So who will this help? This will help anyone starting a brand new podcast and you're looking to get new clients, new dream clients through your podcast. Or if you already have an established podcast, but you want to grow your revenue through that podcast and not have to worry about ads or sponsorship or even needing a big following, right? You may be struggling with getting those leads, those qualified leads for your business. This is the way to do it. So that is who this can help. And if that's you, you are definitely in the right place. Our ultimate goal together is to add 100K in profit to your business without needing ads or sponsorship or even a big following, just through your podcast, being able to connect with your dream clients, build those genuine relationships. So if you're committed this year to taking your business from that multi-6-figure mark to that 7-figure mark, and you know that your podcast has an integral role in it, but you're not quite sure yet how those dots line up for you, I would be happy to offer you a free strategy call so that we can work through those details and see if I can even help you. Because frankly, I don't know that I even can yet without having that conversation and seeing if that would be a good fit for you and your business. So if that feels like something good for you, you can definitely click the link below, hop on my calendar. It'll take you directly there so you can book a call that works for you. And we can work through those details and see how things line up so you can take your podcast, your dream clients, and your business and make sure they're all in alignment. And that's when things really start to move and get really strong momentum. So grab a spot on my calendar. I'm happy to talk that through with you. No pressure at all. I really just want to see if I can help you, if this is a good fit for you, because I'm very strategic about the clients that I bring on. I want to make sure that it can have a massive impact for you. So if that feels like something good for you, again, click the link below. I'm happy to hop on a call with you and you can get some free advice and we'll talk it through together and see if it would work for you. Thank you so much for being part of this workshop. It means the world to me. And I really love spending time with you. I'm excited to learn more about what it is that you're doing. And I have some free gifts for you also. Again, if you hop on that call together, I have some things that I can share with you. So I hope that you're having an amazing day and I look forward to talking with you soon.